This video is brought to you by Bankrate, but more on them later. Today we're flying China Airlines business class and I'm super excited for this. Taiwan has two major airlines, EVA and China Airlines. For me at least, it's been on my bucket list, so I'm excited to check this off. Before we dive into everything though, big favors to give this a thumbs up, and if you are new, to consider subscribing. Okay, to give more context, this was a long day of flying that started in Hong Kong. In order to do the booking, we did transfer points over to Qantas and had to pay about 1,900 Hong Kong dollars in fees. So about $240 US. Even though Mandy and I were on the same 10:35 p.m. flight from Taiwan to San Francisco, we did have different Hong Kong to Taiwan flights. I ended up leaving in the morning at 10:20 a.m. while hers was in the late afternoon. I started my day eating through 3 different lounges in Hong Kong. I then hopped on a 1 hour and 45-minute flight, and I was pretty impressed because most 2-hour flights in the US feel substantially worse. The food here was fine, but I really like the hard products. Most coast-to-coast flights in the US that are 5 hours aren't even as nice. This was also one of those flights where time flew by. An hour and 45 minutes felt more like 30 minutes. Once I arrived in Taipei, I had 10 hours to burn before the next flight. I spent the next 30 minutes getting lost and the next hour and change exploring the airport. I really liked that the gates showed off different cities and attractions in Taiwan, are also just general sponsored areas. So for example, here's a race car section that was pretty fun. They also have a gym, kids area, library of books as well as calligraphy, and also other areas to show off trains. Oh, this doesn't go anywhere. I thought this was a real train that just went around. Guess not. Aboriginal culture, sea cliffs, wind power, and a ton of other stuff. Also ended up checking out some whiskey and making notes so I could do research in the lounge, but more on that later. Around 3:30, I got hungry after doing my laps and I figured I'd grab some food. China Airlines has 2 business class lounges in Taipei. For most of us, there's going to be 3 ways to get in. Number 1 is flying China Airlines business class, number 2 flying first or business with a SkyTeam partner, and number 3 having SkyTeam Elite Plus status and then flying a SkyTeam flight. That means that if you have Delta Gold status and you're flying SkyTeam even in economy, then you can go into these lounges. Let's check out the first lounge in Terminal 2. This is a pretty long lounge and has a ton of seats. Outside of the calligraphy on the wall, it feels pretty uninspired. It's fine by all means, but I feel like they could do a bit more, especially so once you see the other lounge. The food area is nice and you have a ton of options. Food quality isn't bad, but definitely feels like a startup or work cafeteria more than anything else. The Taiwanese beef noodles were the highlight and I ended up scarfing down 4 or 5 of these. To be fair, they are snack-sized bowls, but they're super tasty. I probably spent about an hour eating and then 2 hours working. Ended up running out of the lounge to do some voiceover for a video. Afterwards, ended up finding Mandy eating noodles in the T2 lounge. On the way to the other lounge, we ended up doing some shopping. The Terminal 1 lounge is amazing, and in retrospect, I probably should have started with this lounge. It's a lot bigger and nicer, and the vibe is more of a bar or restaurant. There's a lot of similar food items, but it did look a lot fresher because they probably have more people and more traffic. Here's Mandy taking a look at the food. I ended up taking a quick shower because I felt a bit grimy and we finished off with some last minute shopping. All in, we got 3 bottles, the Moscato, the Manzanilla, and the Vinho. Super happy of it given the prices in the US. Also was itching to try the Vinho since our last Taiwan trip back in 2007 or 2008. Boarding the flight, the first impressions were pretty good. This is on the A350, which has 32 business class seats. We've been on a ton of first and business class flights, but there's something about the China Airlines aesthetic. I love that they use a lot of wood tones and actual wood grains, and it makes you feel like you're in a nice library where I'd be happy to sit for hours to study. I also really like that each seat has their own little lamp where you can control the lighting. With other airlines you might still have light, but it feels a lot more harsh. We, along with everyone else, got welcomed by the staff and they were super friendly. The seat had a bunch of storage compartments and you can see all my stuff kind of put into different places, whether cameras, mics, or lenses. They also provide headphones and water. I normally use my Sony's, but the headphones here were pretty good. Here's the table for working as well as eating, and it is pretty big and sturdy. I also like that you can kind of get up and use the restroom without closing it. Here's Mandy, and also the reason why we're in the back is that we don't end up bothering the rest of the cabin. The most surprising part of the flight had to be the food. Before that, I want to thank Bankrate for partnering with us for today's video. I didn't know this, but they were founded way back in 1976, almost 50 years ago, to help people make smart financial decisions. I'm not kidding you, but for Ask Sebi, our tagline since the beginning has been smarter financial decisions. Whether you're looking for credit cards, banking, investing, loans, mortgages, insurance, or a host of other topics, they have content and tools around it. The really cool thing is that it's written by award-winning writers. We're nowhere near that level, but hopefully in the future. As many of you know, I love points. China Airlines is part of SkyTeam, so in theory, you can book this with any SkyTeam program. Be careful, but I would avoid Delta SkyMiles because it's not really an efficient use of points. To get better value, you do need to transfer flexible points to an airline partner like Air France KLM, so Flying Blue. Another option is going to be a partner that's not part of the alliance. In our case, we transferred flexible points out to Qantas to book the flight. The major benefit being that most of the programs do transfer over to Qantas. Pricing wise, it's not bad, and we found that availability is a lot better. So for us, this trip was about 105,000 points and about $215 US in fees. The retail price of the booking is about $3,500 one way. Even if you map it out as a round-trip flight, making it a bit cheaper, it's still about $2,700. If you do the math for this and adjust for the fees, it's about 2.4 cents per point, which is great value. My target for transferable points is 2 cents per point, so I'm a happy camper. The reason I like cards of flexible point currencies is because they're super valuable and they can let you book flights and hotel stays with various travel partners where you do get outsized value. If you want to learn more about travel cards, you can go to asksebi.com/go/bankratetravel. They've also built a ton of cool tools like Card Match to help you find special offers for various cards. If you do want to see if you're targeted for an elevated offer, I'll link to Card Match down below. If it sounds confusing, we do have a blog post walking through all of this. Thanks to Bankrate for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to the flight. Okay, let me start by saying that the food is next level. Since April 21st, 2023, they've partnered with a Michelin star restaurant for meal service. These are for flights from Taipei to Europe and North America. It's also not just any Michelin star restaurant. It's arguably the best Chinese restaurant in all of Taiwan. Le Palais is a 3 Michelin star restaurant, and they've maintained 3 stars for the last 5 years since 2018. It's also the only restaurant in Taiwan that even has 3 stars. For the mains, you have 3 different options. The first one is by Le Palais, and it's abalone. Second one is steak, third one is Iberico pork. In case you didn't know, Iberico is pretty much the Wagyu of pork. Normally when we do flights, we try to mix it up and have 2 different mains, that way we can review 2 different things. Mandy was set on the abalone, and for me, I was debating on getting the Iberico pork, but it was something that I just didn't feel like turning down. Being able to taste Taiwan's only 3 Michelin star restaurant up in the air was just too good. The food didn't just meet expectations, but it exceeded it. If you're not a fan of seafood or Chinese food, then it might be a skip, but if you are, I think it's well worth trying. The main highlight is the abalone, pretty briny flavor like a lot of other shellfish, a little hint of sweetness, dense, but it was cooked pretty well so it wasn't too chewy. Pretty much a subtle sweet and buttery goodness. This is one of the best meals I've had in the air, and I would definitely recommend it. Reminder that you do lose 20 to 30% of your taste buds in the air, so it might be a bit too bland if you are used to stronger flavors. Mandy and I have a lot of Cantonese cuisine, which is pretty subtle by itself, so we kind of are used to this already, but it might be different for other people. After dinner, it's time to go through the amenities kit. Pretty standard for the most part, but I do like that it's by North Face, and it's a pretty rugged one. Unlike a lot of other kits, it's something that I could see myself using in the future. There's a toothbrush, toothpaste, earplugs if someone's snoring, eye mask, lotion, and lip balm. We ended up brushing our teeth, putting a movie on, and then going to bed. The seat's super comfortable and made it pretty easy. The pitch is 60 inches and the bed length is 78 inches, so about 6.5 feet. Also, it is 22 inches wide, so it didn't feel too cramped. For some other airlines, when I do go to bed mode, I do feel my feet touching the edge. Not really the case here. And to be fair, it's definitely a first world problem, but other airlines feel a bit more cramped for their business class. After a few good hours of shut-eye, we woke up for some snacks. They set up the gallery area, and then it's called the Sky Lounge. Pretty much a ton of drinks and snacks that you get pre-filled. Lots of tasty options, whether you're looking for something sweet or salty. If you do want something a bit more hearty, then they do have things you can order, including a burger or wings. I'd probably avoid it though because these items weren't that great. Maybe I'm comparing it to the main meal, but these were probably 5 out of 10s. I think Mandy actually liked her burger, but the wings didn't really feel that crispy, so I feel like we make better versions of it in our air fryer at home. It wasn't microwave level, but it wasn't as crispy as it could be. The snack was a 5 out of 10, but the main was a 10 out of 10. This leads us into breakfast, which was only okay to me. There's 2 options here, the Chinese style congee with a bunch of other items to add flavor to it, and then pan-fried salmon with spinach and cheese quiche. I'd probably go with the latter one because it looked a bit better. And I mean, the congee wasn't bad by any means, but it didn't really blow me away. Kinda tasted like any other congee, and yeah, nothing really special. Probably a 7 out of 10 here. I'd happily eat it again, but I'm not really craving it. Also note that the snacks and the breakfast are not by the Michelin star restaurant, so maybe that's not fair. Overall, I think this is a great experience and product, and I'd happily give it a 9 out of 10. It's great staff and friendly service, and a pretty solid hard product. I do wish the snacks were a bit better and maybe breakfast a bit more interesting, but the main was awesome. All in, I'm a happy camper and would happily recommend this. If you do want a bit more information on how we booked this using points, I'll put a blog post down below. There also are some tactics for choosing seats that are a bit confusing, but yeah, I'll cover it in the blog post. Again, if you want to learn about cards, we have links on the website, asksebi.com, and also down below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a flower emoji in the comments down below, which kind of looks like a one-of-one of the China Airlines logo. Put in the comments down below and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 2 questions for you. Number 1, what are your thoughts on this and would you fly it? Number 2, do you have any upcoming points trips? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favor, thumbs up, share this with a friend, consider subscribing, but otherwise hope you guys liked it. See you next time.